There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Princes of the Universe. Hi, folks, I'm Matt.
And I'm Wes.
And is it Saturday morning or not?
What?
Because my name's Benjamin, and I don't know if I belong here.
The crossover continues.
Oh, look out, Marvel.
Hey.
You got nothing on this.
I'm telling you what. No, you don't. It's like that secret guest appearance.
It is a secret guest appearance, except cooler, and right at the beginning, and you don't have to wait until after the credits to finally see Xavier in freaking Doctor Strange 2.
Oh, did you see the trailer?
In the Super Bowl
Yeah, it's
bit?
obvious.
Oh, my gosh. Of course
So
it's
everyone's
him.
going to be super excited.
Of course it's Patrick Stewart in there, but...
Does he say engage? I'm kidding.
He does. You didn't hear it?
He just does this.
All he has
There
to
you
do
go.
is
That's
think
all he
it,
has to do
and
now,
it happens. Yeah, just touch your finger to your temple and engage.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so this came about, this actual topic idea, after a podcast. I've told everyone this before. Wes and I have discussions before and after. Benjamin and I have discussions before and after. The party doesn't stop.
Has it started?
Yeah, no, I'm telling you what. On the same week, I got two conflicting reports
About
the book of Boba Fett.
Oh,
You were
wow.
telling me how much you loved it.
Right.
And you were like, this is the best thing that the new Star Wars has done.
Right.
Since the original trilogy. Is that right? Don't let me misquote you.
I compared it to... I said it's the best Star Wars related thing I had seen since Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Now, that episode is what I'm talking about, not the series as a whole.
Okay,
But
then,
yes,
that's fine.
let's be
But you were
clear.
asking me if I'd be interested in watching
Yes.
it because you were enjoying it.
Yes.
Okay. And without even saying anything to Wes comes over the next night to record, and Wes goes, Book of Boba Fett, just
Trash.
trash,
Hate it.
and then started giving me points on it. But I was like, you
So-
know what? I could bring both parties together
For the
and just discuss
audience's
Book of Boba
knowledge,
Fett.
Wes and I met 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
So this could be a bad start to our relationship.
I don't think so.
I don't even want to be here.
I put on deodorant. Come on.
But anyway, so what I thought, I know nothing of it. Obviously, I'm not watching it because I'm not a new canon fan.
Obviously.
Obviously.
And you
But-
will not watch it.
I wanted to, and no, I won't watch it. I won't watch it. Now, I explained to you.
We did talk about it.
We did talk about
I
why.
listened to another one
you
of your
know.
podcasts about why you won't just tear it down just for the sake of tearing it down.
I don't feel like doing that. Now,
Right.
Wes, let me say that before Wes is critical of Book of Boba Fett. Wes went in there with an open mind
Sure.
to watch the new, and you've been doing that for a while.
Yes.
Same.
So I know you did too.
Yeah.
So that's what's different. If
Oh,
you
I
go in
see.
there with an
Yes.
open mind, and then Wes has every right to complain about the show.
That's true.
Because he didn't go like me. I'd go in and say, "Well, this wasn't like
Well,
the
this is
books.
gonna be
I
trash."
I
Right.
can't stop myself
You've
because
got
I love the books." And,
so much knowledge.
know-
Now, have you read a lot, Wes? A lot of the EU stuff.
I read the first set of books in the 90s.
like the Thrawn trilogy,
Yeah.
like everybody
Timothy
else.
Zahn
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm
and
about
then,
the same.
And then
So-
I just, I didn't want to, too much for me, Star Wars is a very visual experience.
Sure.
And I know a lot of people like to read and
It's
imagine on their
amazing
own.
that you're saying that because that leads into one of my exact points
I just
about
feel
Book of
like
Boba
I
Fett.
need to see the characters that I was introduced to at such a young age before I could read or write or wipe my ass. I need to experience. I enjoyed the books a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't want to just gobble up
no, that's
All
information.
Do you
people
feel
consume
differently
media
now,
differently.
Matt? Now that you have consumed more reading material than visual, because there is more reading material.
well, yeah, but I mean, I enjoy visual too, but for me, the books is what kept me as a Star Wars fan.
That makes sense.
And made me the Star Wars fan I am. And when Disney was going to get rid of all that, I was like, oh, well, that's what I was. I found out that's what I loved about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess I'm out. And it wasn't like a rage quit, flip the table thing. It was like, well, if they're not going to follow that, then I really don't care. I mean, like I
remember
said,
that.
and Bruce, when I told Bruce this, he went, oh, really? You're not going to watch the new? I said, no, I don't think so. Are you? He went, yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. I went, okay. And we didn't think anything. Bruce didn't go, you're not a real Star Wars fan because you're not watching. No, but then the internet came around.
Yeah,
And
for
told
sure.
everyone who
The
was
internet.
immature.
Everybody else who
I mean,
was
well,
this
you know,
and
I mean,
that.
the people on the internet.
And that's how we met, actually, even. The first time you and I ever met, I was in your apartment, and I was flipping through the Star Wars Vehicles Encyclopedia, and I found a bookmark in this encyclopedia, and I said, and you came in.
Was it like a picture of the Incredible Hulk saying, hold my page?
Probably. Or it might have been a Star Wars bookmark. And you have more bookmarks than anybody I know, I think.
Yeah.
And but I remember you came home and I was there with Tony maybe. And
Tony was my roommate back
and
then.
I was flipping through the book, and then you walked in and said, "Oh, hi," and we introduced ourselves. And I was like, "So Matt, I have a question. Are you reading this like page 1 to page whatever? Like
that was the hardest question I had to answer that year.
Reference manual, and you were slightly embarrassed for a second. You're like, "Oh no, how nerdy do I have to admit to being about Star Wars?" And I said,
I owned it, though.
I said, "Can we be friends? Because I'm really amazed by this." And that was how our friendship started. Was
That's
because
true.
you were reading the Star Wars Vehicles Encyclopedia from cover to cover.
Yep,
And
page to
I was like,
page.
I want to be friends with people like this. So that's fantastic. But anyway, that's how we started. But I have never read all of the.
No, and
I
that's-
have read a few of the more popular EU books.
And that's fine. And the people that listen to this are definitely EU fans because of my YouTube channel. But they also, a lot of them do watch Book of Boba Fett. And they have conflicting reports too. Some hate it, some love
Really?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I like to do first is, well, who would like to go? Is there someone who would like to go
I don't have
first?
a preference. No.
I'm good with whoever.
And I have read nothing but distaste for the show.
Okay.
On the internet.
Why don't you start with, go ahead.
I'll go first.
Okay,
Yeah,
you go
please,
first.
go for it.
Go ahead.
And we'll just start at the top.
Ooh, look, notes.
Oh shoot! I feel unprepared.
And also part of my note taking is that some of my other friends, I talked to them this weekend to kind of get their point of view. So
Okay.
I did seek a third party on this because I wanted to kind of say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Am I
crazy?
well, not so much am I crazy, but
Am I overly critical?
Is it just my point of view? Am I too vested? Am I too far in the bubble? So,
Am I validated?
well, that's from my therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So, number 1 on the list,
Number 1.
the title was misleading.
I agree with. I agree with you 100%. It was not necessarily the Book of Boba Fett at all. I agree.
No.
So Boba Fett is not the main character.
Well,
he doesn't feel like it.
No.
by the end of it, you're
Wow.
like, this was a lot. We went around the block twice.
We really did. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point. It feels like somebody at Disney said,
You got to put the name Boba
we got
Fett
to
in
put
it.
the name Boba Fett in it to get more viewership, maybe.
And I thought that the way Mandalorian season 2 ended in such a very quick to the point, this dude is back. He means
Right.
business.
Are we dropping spoilers?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, you
We're
should mention that.
assuming
Spoilers.
Everyone
yeah.
has seen all of it at this point. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Just making
We're
sure.
dropping spoilers all through
So
this.
Luke
I'm sorry.
Skywalker shows up at the very end of the season finale of The Mandalorian.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but at the way the Mandalorian ended with Boba Fett showing back up, killing Bit Fortuna,
right.
cold-blooded,
Right.
took Jabba's throne. You were like,
Just boom.
oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
It was very not all this. And then the way this Boba Fett was portrayed in these episodes was the exact opposite of that.
That's a good point.
Okay. All right. Point number 2.
Because Boba Fett was a cold-hearted killer, basically, right? He was a bounty hunter, and wasn't he pretty ruthless in the books too?
well, yeah, but that's the
straight
book.
up murderer kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And yet this series, like at the end of Mandalorian, he's like, boom, Bib's dead, taken over. And
Yeah.
then at this series, he was we got to make him likable. We got to make him we got to give him
human.
a reason. We got
And
to humanize him some.
And part of that is not to. I don't want to jump around too much, but we probably will. I get to the point where they say maybe why he's a little bit softer is they show the backstory of the Tusken Raiders taking
Right.
care of him in this, adoptive way. But I think you set the wrong tone by showing him just cold-blooded kill Bit Fortuna, and then we tune in and the character dynamic is totally changed.
Right.
So if you want to say, well, this is the Book of Boba Fett's change, maybe, but you should never have showed him kill Bit Fortuna in such a cold-blooded way. And what's his assistant's name? The girl? I apologize. Is it Fennec?
I think it's Fennec Shan.
When Fennec sat beside him, took the drink, and they were like, "Yeah, shit's ours."
Badass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the 4 episodes before Mando showed up to save the show, it was a total different character.
To save the show.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So keep going.
Okay. So Yikes!
Because there's a lot of notes there, so keep going.
We got to come back to
I know,
the show. Wow.
Well, let's hear what else he has to say. But yeah,
I felt like Fennec was such a big part of the beginning of this, teaming with him in Mandalorian, him saving her. Where is her backstory in all this? Why is she so loyal to him?
Well,
what did she go through? Because if you're going to show,
that,
if you're going to show the Tusken Raider in that, like why Boba Fett has this new, Ewok way about him, where he just wants to hug and play songs. What? How are these two things working? It's more like, by the end of the show, I felt like she's the badass, and Boba Fett is, walking around with his helmet on because he didn't want to play Star Wars anymore.
Apparently not. I agree with that.
okay.
I thought there was just too much of him not being ruthless.
Yes.
If he's going to take the palace back in such a ruthless, aggressive, I'm going to kill this dude, it's over. The way he went about integrating himself into the system was the exact opposite. It was like he was voting, but he already killed Bib Fortuna. It's his.
So does it seem like your primary complaint is the character was misleading? Like the character changes, like the character.
I felt like
the title from the title onward. It's like
what do they call it?
What it was set up, the way it was sold to you. Everything just felt like a
my consumer confidence was not very strong.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like I felt like I bought something, and then when I opened it,
you're like, what is this?
Like I opened up my Fruity Pebble cereal, and it was Bran Flakes, and I'm like, this is not. I'm not going to have any fun today.
Oh, that's hard.
I'm just going to poop. So, I thought that the way that the Rancor was used was very odd.
Stupid.
Okay.
It was.
We'll go with stupid.
Yeah. Okay, we agree on that point.
That was dumb.
Okay.
Okay. In the big ending finale, why was R2 not part with the X-wing?
Where was he?
Like he brought Grogu in. Where is he at? Because the garage girl, Amy, whatever,
and
she's there.
Sedaris, I think. Yeah.
Where is she? What's R2 doing? Anyway.
So can R2 pilot, not just pilot the X-wing on his own, but can he pilot the X-wing on his own? He cannot?
No.
Okay, so there's a change.
No, I mean, I'm sure if there's an autopilot,
yeah,
I'm sure they can make up an autopilot and make a reason.
We have to assume that Luke programmed the X-wing to fly Grogu to Tatooine, or something like that.
Probably. I mean, that's probably what they said.
R2 is the one who gets Grogu back to Tatooine.
Good for R2.
Yeah, because you think it's Luke in the X-wing, and then pop the canopy, and it's just Baby Yoda in there.
How disappointing.
So, in Mandalorian Season 2, Boba Fett shows up without his armor, and what does Boba Fett want?
He wants his armor.
He wants his armor.
Yeah.
And then he puts that armor on, and the music plays, and you're like, oh yeah.
Sexy. It was a sexy moment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm taking my shirt off. I'm ready. Why make the armor such a pursuit? Well, he never puts his helmet on. Why make the armor such a pursuit to always walk around now without his helmet on?
That's a good point. And I wonder how much of that has to do with just the actor wanting to do it, or how many complaints they got from Mandalorian not being able to see Pedro Pascal's face.
But didn't it make Pedro Pascal so much more endearing the two times he took his helmet off?
Yes.
It's like, oh, this means something.
Exactly.
Boba Fett walks around with this helmet off all the time.
Yeah. And the reason that we fell in love with Boba Fett is because he was a mystery.
Right. He's got this cool helmet.
That's why I thought it was a mistake to do the series from the very beginning. I was like, the reason why Boba Fett's cool is because there's little known of him.
There's a lure.
It's okay if he does guest spots in Mandalorian, probably.
I felt like Boba Fett was pretending to be Boba Fett.
Okay. He was pretending to be Boba Fett?
Yeah, like he was playing Boba Fett. Like if Matt and I...
There's your first conspiracy theory. Is he really just a clone, and the real Boba Fett is actually in a Bacta tank right now?
Well, if it's not canon, who cares? So...
Amen.
Oh, boy.
Keep going.
I've already talked about the Bib Fortuna, the way he killed him, then he became a Sunday school teacher, basically.
Wow. Hard.
Fennec was reminding him to be tough rather than the other way. Like she is encouraging him him, reminding him
That's
who
true.
you are, and he's like wanting to downplay it.
Because she did play the angel, devil on the shoulder, angel on the shoulder. She played the conscience. Like the plot point for her was to help him have a dialogue back and forth about what my motivation is on doing X, Y, Z. To move the plot forward.
I would think I would rather her have been more of a, instead of the good wolf, bad wolf thing. I mean, he is just demasculated, for lack of a better term, and it's not adding depth to his character, it's clouding it. Like, I just don't think, if they would have wanted to do this with a character, they should have did this with the Mandalorian character rather than Boba Fett, because the Mandalorian character was wide open. You could interpret it a certain way, rather than you take this character who was introduced 40 years ago that has a really rich history, regardless of the depth of that history, to giving us this. So there's that.
Okay.
The colors made it look even more ridiculous.
What?
With the Vespas. So you're in the desert, and he meets these like 4 kids that are like the Get Along Gang kids, and they're dressed like Doctor Who and robots, and they're riding these colored Vespas that look like Pee-wee's Big Adventure bicycle.
So wait a minute, Vespas? I thought they were swoop bikes.
Whatever.
Something else? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know what Vespa is.
Yeah,
that
I
a
don't
Star
know.
Wars thing?
No,
or
he's
is
talking
that-
about an Italian scooter.
Is that what it is?
But
That's it. Just looks very.
Okay.
If you
did
look,
did you ever play Star Wars Galaxies, the video game, the MMORPG?
No.
Okay. So I think that's what that was from. They're swoop bikes.
Okay.
Right. And that's
that's
Star Wars
that's
canon
in
stuff.
that's in Shadows of the Empire, yeah, and
Okay.
other stuff, yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Well, if that is it, I'm not de-emphasizing the importance of the canon part. I just thought it just did not stand out right. If these are like dirty, gritty skate
no.
kids or scene kids,
Yeah.
they're supposed to have like duct tape on their Converse All Stars and stuff.
They're way too
These
clean.
kids were way too clean, and their vehicles were way too
They look like
sharp.
they should have been on Coruscant. Something.
Well, yeah, they were way too hip.
Yeah.
Luke grew up on Tatooine. He's beat up.
And plus, you wear white.
His old crappy T-16 back home, it wasn't even close. Like, these things
Yeah.
were top of the line models from, some fancy place. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. And even the new Disney stuff, like, did you read the Kenobi book that just came out? So I just finished that one too. Hated it. But it talked a lot about that, how everything on Tatooine is just beat up crap. You
Right.
know? Like, there's no reason to
Well, in the new trilogy, that's where Rey is basically.
Yeah.
And
The scavenging, she's
yeah.
desperate for parts.
Right, and I know that that's before this, but it's still after Jedi. So that is.
That's a good point.
There was a part where Luke and Ahsoka are together, and she makes a reference to Luke about how much he reminds her of
His dad.
Anakin. So is that a preview of Dark Empire? Are they wanting to really stretch this and say, was him being so very, it's take it or leave it with Grogu? Because the way Obi-Wan and Yoda were with Luke, they warned him, don't do this, don't get your feelings engaged and all of this stuff. So Luke has been through this, and he knows the moral dilemma of caring about something that is more important than perhaps what your calling is, this religious-based Jedi feeling. So what was that for? And if it's not to turn the Dark Empire, why paint Luke that way?
So, Dark Empire, they also dropped the Thrawn reference in The Mandalorian, though, too, when Ahsoka came up and was threatening what's-her-chick face and said, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? And then that's all we got.
Right.
And then now, you're right. I didn't think about that, but I think you're totally right with it. It should be leading to a Dark Empire storyline at this point.
And when you're saying Dark Empire, you mean Heir to the Empire,
I'm
right?
sorry.
The
Heir
book.
to the
Yeah,
Empire,
okay, sorry.
yes.
Yeah,
No, it's fine,
when
fine,
Luke
fine.
is...
The Thrawn trilogy, basically.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Thrawn was mentioned again later, wasn't he? Yeah, I feel like he's been name dropped twice now.
He could be. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't remember now. But it was definitely in Mandalorian season 2.
And I kind of... And I know the endearing part of Grogu is we can't understand what he's saying, but part of the endearing part of Yoda was the way Yoda spoke.
Right.
So if they're linking those, when is Grogu going to get to talk backwards?
Has he spoken yet?
No, he just makes cute noises, which is good, which is fine. I'm just saying, at some point, like he's becoming, he's understanding his powers and stuff. When will he, speak like Grover? Like
like Elmo.
I miss that.
That's a great point because I don't know. That is interesting because at one moment in Luke's training of him, the montage they did, he says to Ahsoka, I'm not necessarily teaching him anything. It's more like he's remembering stuff he already knows. So that is a good point. Maybe it's like he's been, because who knows when this race normally speaks, because he's, 50 years old?
Right. At what point?
What time? When did they start?
The timeline of this is very.
They can do whatever they want with it, I guess. But
correct. Yeah. Hard to follow.
Okay.
The last thing is I have a Chihuahua, and the part where Grogu and Mando are reunited and he jumps in his arms, I cried.
Really?
Because it reminded me of my Chihuahua.
Oh.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's the good thing. I'm ending on a good thing. I'm ending on a good thing.
All right. So
that was the most enduring part of that show. Was this buddy film reuniting?
That was in the finale when he saw him at the very end.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's at a real awkward part of the show, but it's like, that's what Star Wars is about. It's about relationships.
Right.
Our personal relationships with these characters' relationships with each other, and how we integrate all of this into our love of this, galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most endearing.
Wow.
Were the two new characters, their relationship that we've watched grow as viewers, rather than these decade-long experiences that we kind of feel like, man, this feels like the butterfly effect. If we went back, could relive our life again, we would just screw things up.
Right.
It's great that you ended on that note too, because
scene.
It brings it full circle to your first point, because that best part of the show had nothing to do with Boba Fett at all. Like nothing. Right. It was two characters from an entirely different show bonding and being joyful to see each other, and Boba Fett wasn't even there. Like, what? How's the best part of the show for you doesn't even involve Boba Fett? And like, that's what's crazy.
Okay.
So I totally agree. I agree with your first point. Absolutely.
Right. So there you go. There's Wes's points. So Benjamin, do you want to go ahead and give your counterpoints now about what you liked about Book of Boba Fett?
I don't know, man. I've had so much pizza now that I just might throw up into the microphone, and I don't think anybody who listens to this really wants to hear me do that.
Okay, now I got to mention we stopped for pizza, but go ahead.
Then you're talking about Goonies and Chunk throwing the fake puke over the side.
I didn't talk about it.
And everybody throwing up on each other. And I never felt so bad in my entire life. Could you imagine throwing up on a podcast and it causes like literally thousands of people to throw up because of the sound effect?
Are we ending this?
What's
I was
happening
about to
right
say,
now?
are we jumping the shark?
Yeah.
I was all fired up like I had laid down my points and I was ready. All right, come on.
All right, let's hear the counterpoint.
No, there aren't any good counterpoints per se.
Okay.
Because I feel like that we looked at the show differently, and here's part of the reason why, is that I watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, and because I hate the way that shows are being released episodically, weekly, I suppose. I really like the Netflix way of just, look, if I need to binge 10 episodes in 10 hours, then that's my life, Netflix. Don't try to tell me what to do. Like, I hate the anticipation and the build-up, and there have been a lot of shows that I will just wait. I'm like, oh, this is really good. Okay, when's it over with? And I'll watch it then. Because I can't stand the waiting from it, and I feel like I've done my share of waiting from when I was a kid. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. But I get it, and I think I watched the first episode of Book of Boba Fett, and I got really excited because I was like, wow, this is really great cinematography. The acting was good. I thought that the costumes, like it was Star Wars, and so it hit so many good notes. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect by any means, but I have lowered my expectations so significantly for anything Disney Star Wars related, which I'm sure you can empathize with, Matt.
Right.
Like anything that comes out now is like, and so I think it hit above the mark for me, what my expectations were.
Okay.
And so I went back and I remembered that I did not particularly like The Mandalorian. I was like, well, maybe I was just too harsh on it. So I went back and I watched the second season of Mandalorian again, and oh my God, was it terrible. Did you like The Mandalorian?
I love season 1. I liked season 2.
You liked season 2. I pretty much hated both of them. And honestly, it's interesting that you were talking about your points because, and we've talked about this before on Saturday Morning Camouflage, that a lot of my opinions and stuff tend to focus more around the storytelling, the acting, the cinematography, and everything else. Not so much the story itself.
Gotcha.
But the storytelling of it, the presentation of it. Is this actor telling a good story? That's fine. If the story's trash, if it's acted well, I can really get behind it. And I think it's great. A lot of things in Star Wars, the story is strong enough so the acting doesn't have to be that great. But The Mandalorian just made me so many times just think to myself, God, I need to move to Hollywood and be an actor because I am so much better than this guy. And who cast this person? How is this possible that this is Star Wars and this is Disney with unlimited funds and they can't get a director that knows how to do pacing and who screws up all the storytelling of it all? It just blows my mind how they have unlimited everything. And Marvel does that too sometimes, and it just makes me wonder, is it the hubris, or is it just the blindness, or are there producers involved that are just saying yes to everything that they say, or are making changes behind the scenes because they're like, well, no, we got to make this cater to 500 million people, so we got to change it this way. And how much of the Star Wars story is being tainted and altered by people who don't even watch Star Wars, who just were in it to make money. And because you know that those people exist in Disney right now, and so because that's what they do. All of that said, I rewatched Mandalorian season 2 and just hated it. I fast forwarded through the majority of it because I was like, oh God, no, I remember this part now. I'm not watching that again. And just skipped to the interesting bits that I remembered. And then I watched this, the finale and the penultimate episode were great. I was really on the edge of my seat for a lot of those. I thought they were fantastic. And then that led me into Book of Boba Fett. And I think it was episode 2 or 3 when they had a train heist. And one of the reasons you said you liked the Kenobi book is because it was a Western in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's the way it felt with when Boba he became a part of the clan with the Tuskens, and they needed to rob a train, basically, because the Imperials were driving through the Tusken territory, but they would take pot shots at the Tuskens as they were going through, and they killed their banthas. And they would just shoot them randomly and the Tuskens weren't even attacking the train, but they would just shoot at them, for whatever reason. So Boba helps them. He's like, I will help you, take the train. And he had to learn Tusken language, which I kind of thought was sort of dumb, but I don't know, it works. Now, is Tusken something that you can learn in EU? Like, is it just a tribal language?
I'm sure you can learn it, but I don't know how difficult it is.
I just didn't know if it was an established canon fact or whatever, but
don't know.
Anyhow, so Boba learns Tusken in about 5 minutes, and that kind of pissed me off. And then he helps him rob this train. But I've told you before on Saturday Morning Camouflage that one of my favorite things in all storytelling and anything universally is good storytelling without dialogue. And that's one of my chief complaints about Disney ever since Star Wars ever since Disney took over, is that they over-explain everything to you. It's just such stupid things. And I think it was Last Jedi. When did she ram the Star Destroyer, Laura Dern, went busted light speed through the other Star Destroyer fleet when she was trying to help him get away? Have you heard about this scene? You know about this scene. So anyway, the Imperials were taking pot shots at the last rebels, and then Laura Dern's like, I will stay behind and save everybody. And then she turns on the hyperdrive and basically runs through.
Last Jedi.
It was Last Jedi.
Yeah.
She pierces through an Imperial Star Destroyer at hyperspeed. She turns all the safeties off and basically cuts through it and kills herself to cut the Imperial Star Destroyer in half.
Okay.
And so it was a cool moment cinematically. It was really neat. There were a lot of problems with it for a lot of other reasons, but where was I going? This is how ADHD works.
But so, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
Yeah, I know how to build the watch. What time is it?
I liked the cinematography of it. That's what I was saying.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's what they did. Yeah.
They over-explained everything because in that Star Destroyer scene, they like said what she was going to do about 4 times. They cut to 4 different characters to say, "Oh, she's gonna ram the thing into the Star Destroyer," and then they cut to someone else just in case you didn't hear it the first time, and they said it again. And I was groaning out loud in the theater listening to it, and I can't stand to watch that scene, but. They didn't do that in Book of Boba Fett. They don't over-explain everything.
They don't telegram every movement.
They don't telegram, and they don't tell you after it. Now, not every case, but most of the time, they just told a good story. And that train heist scene that they did with the Tuskens, it was probably a solid 10 minutes of just action, no story, no dialogue. And it was magnificent, and it was great cinematography, great pacing, everything. And you hated it. No? I'm just curious.
No, this is one long point.
No, I'm just saying. I was going to ask did you enjoy the train scene?
I did. I wasn't as moved.
It's my one long point because it's my primary reason for. I don't have a list necessarily, but that's the reason I liked the show. I liked the show because of the show of it, not necessarily because of the way they. Hijacked Boba Fett and changed the character midstream kind of thing. And I liked the show because of the way it presented Star Wars to me. It didn't over-explain everything to me. It just let me enjoy it and use my imagination. There's a moment when the sheriff of the town he finishes a conversation and hears the tinkle of the wind chimes in the distance, and he turns and looks at it. He doesn't say anything, but that's always in every good movie when the wind chimes tinkle and the wind changes. Stuff's about to get real. Mary Poppins going to show up.
Mary Poppins going to show up.
Exactly. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yes,
Thank
exactly.
you, Michael Rooker, for that moment. And when he turned and saw Cad Bane walking into the desert from the mirage in the distance, oh my God, that was far and away the best part of the whole show for me. Was when Cad Bane showed up.
Yeah, and I agree with that because not to bring up Kathleen Kennedy, but I know on one of the round tables on Mandalorian where they talked about everything with Star Wars as a silhouette.
Yeah.
So
they used that more.
Correct. Yeah. So when Cad Bane walks up. It's like... It
needs to be a silhouette.
Right, and it builds to that. So I agree with that.
Okay.
And when was the last time you saw that in Star Wars? When was the last time you saw a good silhouette being built?
I guess in Mandalorian when they heard Boba Fett's walking up to her in the desert, and you heard the thing on the boots.
That's one of the best moments of Mandalorian for sure. Is the build up of the clinking of the spurs.
The spurs.
The invisible spurs. That he doesn't wear, but you can hear them.
Right.
I guess it's his bullets jangling in his boots.
Exactly.
And I think that's good. You're bringing something to light that I really didn't focus on. So I agree with the Cad Bane
like that. Most people don't watch movies like that. I totally see them in that way, and that's just how that's part of what the enjoyment comes from.
And that's the crux of this whole thing, because he enjoys Boba Fett for different reasons that you didn't like it, and vice versa.
Yeah,
right.
So it's just basically a preference on how a TV series is built
and how a story is told.
Yeah,
because I think I haven't seen a story told so well in a long time. Now, granted, there's a lot of eye roll moments in Boba Fett. It's just come on, are you kidding me with this? But Mandalorian was filled with them, and there are a handful of redeeming moments. But I will probably never watch Mandalorian again from start to finish. Okay. I will watch a few of those moments. Maybe I'll watch a highlight reel on YouTube or something, because there are some really good Star Wars moments in the Mandalorian. But then, like, the Grogu is fine, but I'm with you. Like, we don't know nearly enough about him, and we've had 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and he was practically in most of all of the end of Book of Boba Fett, and Boba didn't even show up in episode 9 or 7, and then not at all, barely in the finale even. So it was weird. It was weird storytelling. So
I thought that I understand what they're trying to do, where everything is starting to join,
connect, right?
Which I think is great for continuity.
And next we've got Kenobi, right, in May.
Right.
That's going to connect too.
I just felt like I said, I think the biggest thing for me was to say this was the story of Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett.
I agree with that point.
I think they could have, if that was the story they wanted to tell, they could have probably shortened the season. And I do agree. I think the way people process everything, and you're having to wait week after week after week, if it's not killer every week, you're like, by week 4, you're like, I don't even want to watch this anymore.
Right. Lose interest,
Yeah, you've lost interest, correct.
Okay. Well, okay, folks, there you go. That's what we think of the book, or what they think of the book of Boba Fett. I don't care. But
what do you think about the book of Boba Fett, Matt?
Well, I think that I'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.